Hi, this is Dale Hensel, and I'm here today with Stephen. And what we're talking about today is I'm going to interview Stephen for a possible job, and I'd like a little, so we're going to go through this. This is probably going to be part of the podcast series that I will do. I've been hiring people for a little over 25 years. I probably hired close to 1,200 people in my 25 years worth of business. I've figured out a few things, what I like to do and what I like to hear from people. And so this is somebody I'm talking to. We'll see how it goes. But I thought I'd invite you in for the interview, as well as, see what other community members in the MEC builder community do and what they're working towards. And Stephen and I talked briefly before I interviewed him, or going to interview him here. And he had mentioned that, sometimes you're not always ready to jump right in and be an entrepreneur. And that's perfectly fine. Sometimes you have to realize where you're at and realize what your strengths are, and realize that you're sometimes in order to get the experience you want, you need to be in in a machine that works rather than trying to build your own, right? And everybody's done this differently. I have friends who've been in corporate for 20 years, and when they come out and be an entrepreneur, they crush it because they've had all of this skills and experiences of being an entrepreneur or an employee in a larger system, and they learned all of these skill sets. And I found that with a lot of young entrepreneurs who are just starting out, they don't necessarily have the skill sets for managing people. They don't necessarily have the skill sets for building a business. And that just takes time. There's a couple of ways to learn it. You can go to college, not recommended, in my opinion. You can work for another person who's running a larger business of what you would like to do, or you can go out and bash your head against the wall and do it yourself, and hopefully learn over time how to do it correctly. Everyone's different. There's no way that's right. There's only what's right for you. So today I'm talking with Stephen because we're going to be talking about, instead of building a business for himself, we're talking about possibly joining another entrepreneur and working for them, because he approached me for a job. So Stephen, that's what I had to say. Why don't you tell me briefly a little bit about yourself, and we'll go from there.
Well, I am super organized, self-motivated, systems and operations side, top to bottom. Most of my experience has been in the finance and real estate industries. However, unlike most people on admin side, I am very fluent in interactions, extreme customer service, dealing with people.
Right. What's extreme customer service?
It is the feeling someone gets when they interact with your brand or your company or your organization, and they feel like everything's taken care of above and beyond, and they're cared about as a human being, not just a number.
Oh, I see. Okay, cool. So
is that your daughter?
Yeah, my daughter's coming to steal my bacon. Out, damn spot. All right. So a nice Macbeth quote. So that's extreme customer service, where you're saying you want them to have an extremely good experience interacting with the business. And so that's one of the things that you provide for some.
Yeah. And I want them to be blown away, because, no matter what you're doing from a systems and operations standpoint, anybody can copy it. But what they can't copy is the culture, the vibe, the atmosphere, the mood of your interaction with that brand.
Okay. And so tell me about an experience you had where you've worked with somebody and you provided this extreme customer service, and what the person thought of it, and the experience they had. Go ahead, tell me a little bit about that.
So a couple of examples from when I was the administrator for a Keller Williams brokerage, one of the fastest growing in the world. And in the administrator role, it's kind of a 24/7 cap that I had, because agents who are wanting their commission checks, agents who are wondering what's going on with their transactions, are reaching out to me. And so to be able to not only put out fires, but in doing so, make those agents feel as though they had received tremendous value just by reaching out to me, and making those agents feel like they were no doubt at the best place to be for real estate, despite maybe there's a delay, maybe this happens, maybe that happened. So I guess an example could be E&D checks, reassuring people that everything's accounted for top to bottom, and, we'll get back to them, or even from the standpoint of other people I'm interacting with, as far as the cooperating agents on the other end of the brokerage,
Hmm.
um, rather than, because there's a tendency in that industry for uh, representatives of brokerages to kind of be curt and short with each other, but to
Yes.
create a feeling of warmth and camaraderie between our brokerage and the cooperating brokerages, so that they actually were looking forward to doing more business with us in the future.
Okay. So your job was to basically make sure that everyone loved your brokerage.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Okay. So why did you pick this career of being kind of like this focused OCD admin that you
Yeah,
called yourself earlier? I'm just using your words here. He
yeah,
called
yeah,
himself a really focused OCD admin, and I thought that was an interesting. I
yeah,
mean, and to be honest, I've had a lot of admins that have been phenomenal, and the best ones were always a little bit OCD because they
yeah,
got all
yeah,
the details
yeah.
done correctly. So tell me a little bit
Detail.
about why did you go into this arena?
Well, I've always been hyper logical, just as far
Good.
as how my brain works. My mom passed away when I was 8, and I went to a psychologist when I was 18 or 19 when some issues started popping up. And what she basically explained was that, my emotional growth was sort of stunted, and my logical brain overdeveloped to compensate. So I've always been extremely logical, detail oriented, skeptical, rational. And so my first position at 20 was a mortgage loan processor for a federal credit union. And it's just really from the beginning, I've been, at one point I was handling up to 80 loans in a pipeline simultaneously. I had a system for organizing it. So it's really just always been the way that my brain works.
Okay. So um, so just basically, so that's okay. So that's you're very procedural, which is awesome for an admin. What would be the what are you trying to do? What are you trying to get out of,
I'm
what do you
looking for a home base. I'm looking for a company that has great people that I can grow alongside, that I can connect with, that I can be myself around, that I can bounce ideas, brainstorm, that are okay with being criticized, that are okay with criticizing me, that want to grow personally and professionally alongside me, and vice versa. I'm looking for, I don't necessarily care so much about the industry
yeah,
as,
it's
as
it's
much as I care about the culture of the company and a focus on being challenged and growing. Because for me, 100% of my motivation comes from being challenged. And if I'm not being challenged, if it's easy, then there's no motivation on my end. It's got to be challenging. So I need a full plate. Um, I've been in positions before where I was hiring myself. I'm definitely someone that thrives on growth and on challenge.
okay. So tell me about a situation where it was a little bit stressful and how you dealt with it.
Oh, so many to name.
Just pick one.
Well, certainly when I was starting out as the MCA, so I have,
What is an MCA?
so it stands for Market Center Administrator. It's a Keller Williams specific role. It means uh, basically CFO plus COO, operations plus finances. Now, that being said, I only was in that role for about 9 months, so I wasn't necessarily 100% um, doing all the operations. It was kind of the Wild West when I came in, and I wasn't at a point where I was overseeing full operations, full disclosure. Now, when I started that role, um, I have a servant's heart, but there's a difference between an attitude of servitude versus being a servant. And I was learning how not to just be a servant, because you got agents knocked on the door all day long. People want this, people want that. And my goal at the time was just to stop what I was doing and help them. Stop what I'm doing and help. Stop what I'm doing and help. So that was extremely challenging. And, there's a lot of incredible mentorship at that company. And what I had to learn to do was close the door, lock the door, tell people I'll get back to you, tell people not right now, tell people I have specific times for that, and really learn that in order for me to truly serve an entire brokerage, I have to not have a servant's attitude and stop dropping stuff to help people. And so little things like learning to keep the door locked, learning to time block the one-on-one help, learning to prioritize, because I'm dealing with humans for every task, but certain tasks are more important, certain tasks are less important. So transitioning towards having an attitude of servitude versus just being a servant was probably one of the most growth-oriented challenges that I overcame.
Okay, that's a pretty good one. It takes people sometimes years to learn to prioritize because, like you said, you got kind of a service, a focus, and a servant focus means that you try to help, which means when somebody knocks on the door, you answer it. When learning to prioritize has always been difficult for people in the beginning, but yeah, that's a hard one to master. And if you can master it, you can say, "I'll talk to you." Not at the moment. It is not a priority at the moment. You are a priority. You are important, but I have something ahead of you, and that's good. So that's pretty cool.
And that's something else that I'm working on is actually for your best interest. If you want me to serve you at the highest level possible, I've got to handle this stuff.
So what do you want? What do you want in a job? What's the three most important things for you to have in a job?
Number one, challenge. Number two, people, and that's kind of tied for 1 and 2. I need to be around people that I can be friends with, that are not afraid to criticize me, and that are not afraid for me to say, "Hey, this is not being done the best way. There's a better way to do this. How can we implement it?"
Well, there's constructive criticism, and then there's just being a troll, right? Don't be an asshole. That's what I tell people. Yeah. So you need a challenge. You need to be around people who are willing to be constructively critical. And what else?
I would say flexibility, location. So being able to work from home, being able to visit my dad, he's getting older, being able to spend time with my girlfriend when she has a day off. She's retail, so it's so unpredictable.
Sure. So you're looking for, so you'd love it if we did a work at home position, right? You're not really looking, you're not required. Tell me a little bit about your computer skills. What are some of your better computer skills that you've mastered?
My computer skills are pretty much the ability to learn any software. When I was in high school, I did the software engineering path, and that was a big natural fit. I remember one position I was in, my supervisor asked me, "Do you know Wufoo?" And I've never heard of Wufoo, but I was like, yeah, absolutely, because I was so confident in my ability to learn the web software and be able to make the forms that were needed. In my social media management and digital marketing positions, I learned at least 12 to 16 different pieces of web software, from podcast publishing software, CRM software. I can actually go through my bookmarks toolbar and go through social.io.
Yeah, no need to go through your bookmarks toolbar. So obviously competent there, and you've done social media posting management, whatever it is that you did. Tell me a little bit about that briefly. What did you do?
I grew a podcast to over 1,400 followers in about 8 months. I worked closely alongside the host of the show as well as the producer of the show. The host of the show is a very dear friend of mine and a very valued mentor of mine named John Newman. And the three of us basically hit this idea with the ground running, hit the ground running with this idea and made it happen. And I was doing everything from the entire social media management of the show, posting the schedule, posting promotions, running ads for it, choosing which clips were to be highlighted for the promotions, scheduling the guests, networking to connect with potential guests. So pretty much doing everything aside from hosting and producing.
Okay, cool. Organized the calendars and everything else, sounds like too.
Exactly.
That's a pretty cool skill. What about what do you suck at?
Beating myself up too hard. I'm a perfectionist, so I suck at dealing with disappointment. That being said, I've gotten tremendously better at it, but I don't like fucking up. I don't like making mistakes. I don't like things to be inefficient. I don't like to be ineffective. So
Sure.
processing my failures, maybe.
Sure. Okay. So if so processing your failures, you kind of suck at. What other things do you suck at in life? I mean, I actually have a really good list, all the things I'm good at, and it's about this long. Then I have my man. It takes like 3 pages. I suck at a lot, but that's because I focus on what I'm really good at and try to be just effective there. um, So what else do you suck at? I'm kind of curious. What else I mean, so you beat yourself up. Everyone does to a certain extent.
So
It
one
sounds like
thing,
you're professional at that, but what else do you suck at? Go ahead.
so I kind of have this delusional self-conviction that makes it difficult for me to maybe recognize what I suck at. But compared to face-to-face communication and video communication, phone communication I kind of suck at because I have hearing aids and I kind of depend on reading lips. And like my headphones here for the PC is great because I can turn it up nice and loud and it's nice and clear. So phone conversations might not be a strong suite because I'm saying what a lot of the time.
Right.
Um, I mean, dealing with disrespect
Mm.
is maybe not my strongest skill.
Sure.
Um,
How do you deal with disrespect? When somebody disrespects you, how do you deal with that?
well,
That sucks. That's an apparent obvious, and the reason there's a reason I'm asking for this. It's very good to know how aware you are of where your limitations are. And it's good for me to know where your limitations are. So I don't put you in some place that, or anybody doesn't put you in some place you suck at. It's like a guaranteed recipe for failure. If somebody says, I'm going to take this person and have them do this, and you know that they suck at that, it's just like, why are you doing this? Right? And you know to raise your hand earlier and say, if you know what your suck list is, to raise your hand earlier and say, I don't think I'd be the best person for this. Somebody else would, this person would. Or instead of, I know a lot of entrepreneurs and a lot of employees go, yeah, I'll do that because they've been asked to, without ever assessing it and saying, I don't know if I would be the best fit. Right? That comes with age and experience, where you say somebody gives you a task or gives you a goal or something, and you say, you know what, I don't think I'd be a good fit for that. How about, and you learn to say no gracefully. So I like to know if you know where you suck at, or I know where you suck at best early, so that I can
yeah,
put you in places where you are going to thrive and
makes
do well and
makes
not fail.
total sense. I definitely suck at sales, and I know that's not a term people like, client acquisition, business partnerships, whatever. But
Hmm.
I've it's weird because I have no issue being myself in any other context, but when there is that sale agenda, it's almost like this block where I'm not really able to just tune into someone and tap into what's making them tick the same way I can when I'm working behind the scenes or working with other staff members or working with
Okay.
employees under me and so on. So um, I remember Landon one time I was cold outreaching for podcast followers and I just blew this introduction with Landon. He actually screenshotted my horrendous conversation and used it as a 30-minute tutorial on doing cold outreach on Facebook. So that that's definitely, yeah. He busted my balls. It's hilarious. I recommend you check it out if you want a good laugh.
Landon who?
Yes, yeah.
Landon who?
Landon Porter, the how to get clients without being salesy Facebook group.
Oh, okay, cool. I know lots of Landons. There's a lot of people out
Gotcha.
there. Oh,
Yeah.
that's why I asked, because I don't know who.
Gotcha.
All right. Well, that's funny. You've become somebody's tutorial. I'm sure I could be somebody's tutorial in several things. So I get it.
Yeah. So don't put me in a position to sell your stuff. It's
Got
not.
it.
It's not what I do.
Got it. All right. And what's your long-term goal? I mean, what are you trying to do? I mean, you're a young guy. You're obviously got directions and goals and everything else. What are you trying to aspire to? What's your next
So
level?
I'm currently in school for massage therapy. I go to school 6 to 10 p.m. on weekdays. And that's something I would like to do part-time alongside a full-time position. What I'm really looking for, hey, I don't know. I've never been someone that had a clear vision for the future. Even when I had a leadership coach, she was like, you need a clear vision. Look, that's not me. It's just not. I'm not someone
Which
who's
is
going to
why you
sit
would make a
here.
better employee. So I think you'd make a better, yeah, you'd obviously make a better employee than your own entrepreneur in a lot of cases. And I think you're good to realize that early. And like you were saying, yeah, you're a better first lieutenant than you are the general, right? You would be better saying, okay, you tell me what it is, I'll go execute behind you in your vision. So if you have clear leadership, then you are able to give the person who has the clear leadership, who has that vision, you're able to give them a lot of backup support. You're able to give them a lot of execution behind the scenes, etc. Okay, I get
And
it.
and to be clear, I do consider myself a leader. The way that I got the administrator position was I was asked if I'm a numbers guy. I said no. So that's maybe something else I suck at. He said, well, what do you see yourself, you know? And I said, leading people. Because to me, leadership is not about being a general. Leadership is about being authentic and being vulnerable. And and
Okay,
through that, people will follow you.
right.
And
So you're
you'll
better at
have a
a
good
team,
time.
like a team lead, as opposed to the general of the whole freaking war.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. All right. Cool. When you say numbers are not your strength, what do you mean by that?
Well, it's funny. They became my strength because I was actually crash coursing accounting PDF textbooks and financial accounting textbooks in order to pass this exam to become the accountant of the brokerage. So this is what I mean by a delusional self-conviction to do anything. So I guess I
It's not a
still don't,
bad thing, but go ahead.
yeah, I don't consider myself a numbers guy per se, but I can do numbers. There's no skill that's so hard I can't learn it and excel in that role. Um, Maybe I don't fluently think in numbers. Maybe I can't really do high level accounting, but it was a skill I picked up and a skill that I still have.
Got it. All right. Well, um, yeah. So those are skills that would you say you can do it? I get it, but would you say that's something you would like to do? Is the accounting part, or you
I don't
just
enjoy it. I don't enjoy it.
yeah? So that I would move that, even though you can do it, I'd move that to your suck list. Even though I can paint a house really fast, I have it on my suck list because
Gotcha.
when I was buying a lot of real estate, every time I picked up a hammer or a paintbrush, I lost money because I wasn't focusing on what the revenue generating activities were. I was trying to reduce my expenses by doing, very low end menial work. So instead of paying $10 an hour, I could do it for free, saving myself $10 an hour, or I could go out and acquire another property, which had a $15 or $2,000 per hour value. And so so I stopped. I can paint fast. And I have it on my suck list because it shouldn't be something I should be touching. And
Mhm.
it's not something I normally enjoy. Like you, I believe I can do anything. However,
Sure.
I shouldn't do everything because that's not the point. All right.
That's a good lesson. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, I figured that one out years ago, and it's been every now and then I'll get into building a business and I'll find myself in expense reducing activities instead of revenue generating activities. And really I should be doing revenue generation because that's where I'm sales great at. That's what I excel at, not hey, I saved $10 an hour. I feel like a Geico commercial, hey, I saved $150 on my house painting, who gives a shit? And instead of buying three more houses in the same time it took me to paint
Clear.
one house, I could buy three more. So yeah, the fact that you can do it, great, but it shouldn't be your focus or anything else. How much? So you're going to school. How much availability of time do you have to commit to and
Every
do?
other hour, every other hour aside from that 6 to 10 p.m. time slot.
Oh, 6 to 10 p.m. So it's in the evenings. So in
Yep.
other words, it almost doesn't affect anything else you're doing. Is that every day that you're going to school?
Every day except for Tuesday.
Okay. So every day but Tuesday, that's fine.
And I'm free weekends. So a
All
lot
right.
of the loose end miscellaneous stuff, when I was the administrator, I worked every single weekend because I'm really big on planning the upcoming week, structuring the upcoming week, setting goals, priorities, that
Have
sort of
you
thing,
used
bringing it up to
Trello?
ends. Huh?
Have you used things like Trello or Asana or some of the other?
I like Next App, which is a transaction management software. I like RealVolve. Um, I've played around with Cumulus. Most of those web softwares are real estate related.
Right.
We did use Asana on the real estate team I worked in under John Newman, and however, someone else was setting up the workflow for Asana, but I was poking around in it and I was understanding it. So all of those types of software work how I think. So
Right.
the way I explain it to people is like, we need to understand how, because you're constantly fighting over which solution to use. Oh, I don't like this. I don't like that feature. We need this. So, and people get burned out quick having to restructure the systems and restructure the process every time because each of those solutions speaks a different language. So I'm
Right.
really good at learning the language that a systems software speaks and then being able to parse the actual workflows through that language and communicate that to people.
Okay. How, so you're, okay, I get that. So you're going to be available time-wise during the day, which shouldn't be a problem. What about, what's your favorite mode of communication? Email, Skype, Messenger?
I like any text chat and any video chat. Text chat is probably my favorite, but video chat's almost as preferred. Um,
Okay.
phone I'm not great at.
You what?
Phone
Yeah,
I'm not so great
I
at.
get the reason why too. That makes sense. I have like a 60% hearing loss from being a kid shooting guns and shit. So I know what that's like. And you get older, you just realize, wow, I don't hear as well. So I say what to my daughter a lot. One of the questions I have is really around how much micromanagement, how much you say you're self-motivated. How much management do you need? How much oversight do you need?
Not much. I need a goal. I need maybe some guidelines that can't be broken, but I much prefer to figure it out and get my results
All
and
right.
present my results. And that being said, there are certain things that need to be done a certain way that have already been established,
Right.
and I'm extremely comfortable, and I really do enjoy taking notes through a process and having that as a guideline, being able to replicate it in the future. So I mean, look, micromanagement is necessary in the learning phase to a certain extent. It just is if you're walking into an
Learning phase.
established situation.
Right. In the
But
learning phase, right. Okay. Have you managed other people?
so when I was the administrator, I was sort of sitting in as a partnership in the hiring process of the front desk, which is called the Micro Center coordinator.
Right.
And then I was about ready to hire my assistant, and the and I decided that that company and that role wasn't the best fit for me. And so the hiring of the assistant became hiring my replacement. So what I did was, and when I came in that place, there was no one in that role at the time. So the role was outsourced to a service that does the accounting, basically scan them all the checks, and then they do everything for you and send it back.
Sure.
And so I had set up the systems and processes for that accounting role, for that administrative role. So what I did was, they made the decision on who to hire. I posted the description, the job outline, the requirements, and so on. And I onboarded her. She shadowed me. I taught her everything, all my systems, and
So
she's,
basically, you built systems and you trained somebody, but you weren't
yes.
really in the
And I,
daily management role. Okay, that's good to know because it tells me whether I need to either if somebody says if I want you to manage somebody, or if somebody says, hey, manage these people, it's not your strength yet, but you're open to learning it, and obviously
yeah,
you're
well, when I was doing systems and operations consulting, I was again overseeing transaction coordinators and staff of that role, and teaching them and showing them how to use different software solutions and how to tweak their workflow and how to prioritize. And also, when I was a loan processor, I trained and onboarded my replacement processor. However, like you said, I have not been in a strictly management position.
okay. Yeah, I get that. All right. Well, you're looking for something long term. It sounds like you're looking to be
Absolutely.
part of a team that grows. You're looking to really kind of be the backbone of. I know there's a lot of flighty out entrepreneurs out there who have got great ideas and halfway decent execution and a mess of a back office. And it sounds like you could solve that mess of a back office. Um, you can interact with and deal with other people in the system and whatnot. How good are you at delegating?
You mean assigning tasks to others?
Yeah. And following up on them and measuring it and everything else. I don't know. That's usually a management skill that you develop over time. I don't know if you've had enough experience with that yet.
Well, I have probably about 33% experience with that compared to maximum, and I say that because in the administration replacement on board, there's obviously a shift where it's like, okay, now you're responsible for this piece, and we're going to
Hmm.
see how that goes. Okay, now you're responsible for this piece, and so I'm very familiar with the intelligent ordering of the pieces and how to hold someone's hand through the task so it's not overwhelming. And I've also been on the receiving end of that. And because I'm so self-aware, I've picked up on a lot of what I liked about being on, what I liked and didn't like about receiving, about having more shifted onto my plate.
I got it. Okay, cool. Um, all right. I think I have enough information. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to sit down, go over this video another time, and think about what I'm doing, what structures are out there, see if there's a good fit, see if there's, I'm looking for some people, but I'm not exactly sure. I'm still coalescing the idea or the team together in terms of what does it need to look like short term, what does it need to look like long term. I'm reformatting a lot of my life right now. So I'm thinking through the whole structure that's very different. I don't need location-based people, meaning I don't need them in an office. I no longer want to, I've built several companies with offices, and lots of people, and lots of operations, and lots of expenses, and everything else, and lots of revenue, all that. But I'm not interested in that at the moment. So geolocation free or non-restricted is kind of what I'm looking for. It sounds good there. You have really good skills. You'd make a decent backbone for some people. What I'll do is I'll go over this video again and I'll get back to you. Is that cool?
Very much appreciated, my friend. And your time and your energy means the world to me. I really do appreciate it.
Thank you. Thanks so much. All right. We'll catch up with you later.
Yes, my friend. Take care.